Well, hey, all you cool cats and kittens, it's Jen Lou. What are y'all doing? Happy Tuesday. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody's Tuesday was fan friggin' tastic. Mine was great. Thank you, Allie79, so much, so much, so much. Kezchick, if you're late, that's cool. We don't take attendance at the ward. Hey, Renee New, check in as much as you can, but family and kids come first. Hey, Sam. Good to see you. Hey, Tony. Hey, Vincent's missing here. I think hi, Max 2000. Hi. Well, okay. Sorry about that, you guys. It's storming here and my internet crashed for just a second, but it appears like it's back on. At least it is on my phone. I guess it's going to take a second for the computer to act right, which I was kind of worried about this. These storms were not like, they're kind of a surprise to me because I there was a one line that passed through like earlier, like about 4 o'clock my time. No, maybe like that's a lie. It was like 6, and so I thought, okay, well, like that's going to be, it'll be done, right? No, there's like this huge line that was right behind it. And of course, the weatherman's like, it's going to be heading around 9 o'clock. And I was like, oh, God. So give me just a second. The computer is back having the Wi-Fi, and I don't want to be on my phone because it's only at 52%. And the StreamYards drains the hell out of it. So give me a sec. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. Storms, storms, storms. So annoying. All right. Well, no. It's me. It's me. Amelia, they happen in Texas too. This is about the time of year they happen in Texas a lot because what'll happen is it'll get really warm during the day and like about between like 3 and 4 o'clock, there'll be like a cold front that will move in. And so when the cold air hits the warm air, obviously, boom, thunderstorms and whatnot. So they usually end up being severe. I don't know what the Florida's is doing because this is not like, I mean, it's always possible here, but mainly it's like, breakthrough showers. The only time I really have to worry about tornadoes, honestly, is after not after, but like a hurricane, like during hurricane season, because depends on what side of the uh, eye wall you're on. That can cause pop up tornadoes and like water spouts or cyclone. I don't know. It's crazy, and Mother Nature just don't muck around. So it is what it is. So I'm very, 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 very excited tonight because obviously this is the night that we have been waiting for. This is the testimony we've all wanted to hear. And I hope that my internet behaves. I'm sure it will. Usually it's not too bad. It's usually ahead of the storm when it's real gusty and stuff. Sometimes it'll mess um with the internet. But look, if push comes to shove, we'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Um but I wanted to know how many of you guys have seen the video I posted earlier about our good pal Chazzle Dazzle and what he's trying to pull. I can't believe it. So if you missed it, Chazzle Dazzle, through his defense attorney, right, is he filed a motion, a request, and then he signed an affidavit. He doesn't want to be present at his sentencing, right? And the no worries, no worries, no worries, no worries, cuz check just whenever you can, babe, it's fine. No worries, nonstop, mom. I'm going to fill you in. Okay. So, Chazzle Dazzle requested not to have to attend his sentencing hearing, right? And the district attorney, or the chief prosecutor, said, no. And this was hard for me, and I'm glad some of you didn't hear it, but those of you who did knew okay. So when I was quoting the letter that the district attorney wrote to the judge, he's the one that wrote the word murder and not murderer. And so it was hard to read that way because obviously that's, incorrect. And so when Shmita told me that his sentencing had been scheduled for March 17th, which is Thursday, she was like, do you think there's going to be like impact statements? And she meant like, are they going to be like read publicly? Right. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, I can't, maybe other family members, but I can't see his brother doing it. They just seem like such reserved people that I do think he wrote one, but I think he would be giving it to the judge and not reading it aloud. I don't know. But bottom line is, I feel that there's some school of thought that because he was convicted of first degree intentional premeditated homicide, right? that it carries a mandatory sentence, which it does, but he could actually get life with the possibility of parole. It doesn't carry a mandatory life without possibility of parole, right? So there is a possibility that he could get um he could be eligible for parole. Do I think he'll be eligible? Do I think that's what he'll probably be sentenced to? No, I don't think it's very likely. And so some school of thought is, well, this is a formality and he really doesn't he's not going to why bother to show up and yada yada yada, because he's not going to be, whatever. But I feel like it has nothing to do with that. I think he knew when he was charged what he was facing, right? And I think he knew that the evidence against him was going to be pretty strong. And you guys were all there. We saw the trial, right? I think what he's doing is he's avoiding being held accountable for what he did. He can be appealing all he wants, which I don't even know if he's filed an appeal because I haven't looked. But go ahead, appeal all you want to. But at the end of the day, you need to take accountability for what you did. And you need to, if your brother or any other member of your family decides to confront you during the victim impact statements, you need to be there and you need to hear what they have to say. I mean, for Pete's sake, Jeffrey Dahmer sat through the BTK, all those people did. So, Chazzle Dazzle, you are not special, and you're going to have to sit there like a big boy and listen to it, because that's what happens. So, yeah, exactly. You're exactly right, Max. I will say that for Watts. He sat there and he took it like he should have. That's what happens. You know what I'm saying? So, maybe, or maybe he's had a conversation with our old pal Chris Watts, and Chris Watts is like, dude, bruh, whatever you do, don't go to your sentencing hearing. If you can get out of it, you should totally try to get out of it. Like, for reals. Call your attorney right now, like immediately, and see what she can do to get you out of it. Whatever. Gross. So, yeah, that's going on. Now, I wanted to ask you guys real quick before we get started, right? So, it is going to be streamed, but I know that all of you guys, most of you guys work and, have lives, and we all seem to 9 o'clock always seems, between 8:30 and 9 always seems like a good time for us all to get together. Would you guys rather me do it live as it's happening, right? Or don't do it live, wait until the evening, play it, and then we can discuss it. What do you guys think? Let me know. All right. So now, are we ready? Poor Dulce. I hope that they give Dulce and why can't I think of her partner's name right now? Because she was my favorite as well. I really, yeah, it's up to you guys. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it democratically. I can't open up another tab. So put a 1 in the chat if you want me to do it live. Put a 2 in a chat if you want me to do it in the evening. Cress, thank you. True Psych Word. Cress, they ought to let Cress, given it, both of them, give a victim impact statement, because he ruined that farm for them, especially Cress. And he should be required to sit and listen to that. And the judges has to rule. And I haven't checked on an update. I'll check while this is playing and let you guys know. But it's going to have to be sometime between now and before Thursday. So it is what it is. All right. So did I add that to the stream? No, I did not. All right, you guys ready? All right, here we go. Oh, wait, let me put him on 1.25 just cuz. I don't think it really actually makes any difference, but it makes me feel better. All right, here we go.
Mr. Mengel, can you please state your full name and spell both your first and last name for the court reporter, please?
Jason, Leemengel.
It's Jason Lee Mengel.
Yes, Roger.
Where do you work?
At the moment, I was working for FedEx, but I'm going on a deployment to the Ukraine, so
You're currently taking a leave?
I took the month off.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you're going on a deployment to Ukraine. What's your military status?
I'm on Title 10 right now, I believe.
Are you a medic in the military?
Roger, yeah.
And just because I don't use Roger in my normal course of work, that's a yes, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. How long have you been in the military as a medic?
It's going on like 10, 12 years-ish.
Does that require some travel both in the United States as well as outside of the country?
Just travel. It's mostly like stateside lately, relief efforts and things like that.
And how old are you?
I am 35, 30. April 6, 84. We'll say that.
April 6, 84. And what city or municipality are you initially from?
Initially from?
Yes.
I guess you'd say initially we could do Medford, Wisconsin?
Medford,
the Taylor
Wisconsin.
County area.
And just generally, what city do you live in currently?
Currently, Eau Claire County.
And in the time period from the summer of 2017 through March of 2018, were you living in the city of Eau Claire?
And what time?
It's September 2017 through March 2018.
Yes.
Are you familiar with a place, Racy's Coffee Shop?
Yes.
Is that a place that you have frequented as a customer?
Oh, yeah, I quite frequently.
Is that a place that you frequented as a customer from that same time period, summer 2017 to March 2018?
Yeah, about pretty much every day.
And if you could describe for the jury a little bit about the clientele at Racy's, and I'll ask you some specific questions. Is it more of an artsy place or is it more of a sports bar? What's the typical clientele?
It's kind of like an intersection of like all people. So we have, veterans, we have motorcycle guys, we have liberals, we have Democrats, Republicans, like everybody. It's kind of like a melting pot where everyone just goes and sits on the benches and they have conversations in an open forum. And it's a very understanding place where people are free thinkers and there's no recourse like for your thought.
Is it by the name Racy's Coffee Shop? Is coffee the main product sold there?
I mean, yeah, they have coffee, but there's also the nucleus, which serves food. But
so is that connected to?
They're connected inside, yeah.
Would it be common or uncommon for me to walk into Racy's and see somebody with a philosophy book or a journal?
No. Students go there a lot to study, so
that would be common?
Yeah, very common.
Is it a place that you would go to just grab a cup of coffee and head out, like maybe at Starbucks, or is it a place you'd go and, like you said, sit on the bench?
It's a place for procrastination, I think. A lot of people go there with intentions of like studying but it's like a unified procrastination. It's kind of like, it makes it okay. So we can indulge in our vices. Like people go there to smoke and they really shouldn't be just, because it's communal. So like you all,
Is it a lot of the same regular customers and regular employees when you go there?
I mean, there's like monthly people that come like once or twice a month, but there's definitely daily. Like they call themselves, or we call like Racy's Rats, pretty much. Just like
the Racy's Rats?
Pretty much, just like hanging out at the coffee shop.
And you said smoke cigarettes. Does that happen out on the bench?
Yeah, the benches are kind of like, that's where people like wax poetic and stuff like that. And the what?
What about yours?
For which part?
The benches are, that's where people in the middle.
Like wax poetic, like just like people will go on rants about Trump, or they'll go on rants about anything, just about anything. Like I talk a lot about bikes out there because I'm very pro biking.
I talk about what?
Bicycling. I talk a lot about bicycling out there because I'm very pro. I don't know. I'm an enthusiast for cycling.
So it's a place where if you're going to have a smoke, you step outside, sit on the bench and have a conversation.
Yeah. And everyone gives each other their fair quarter for the conversation.
Would you describe, so let's, speaking more of the regulars, the dailies, is it a close-knit group of people or is it cliques?
Sorry. Yeah, exceptionally close. Like there's been a lot in people's lives at that place that people have experienced through each other. So, losses of friends, family members, people that move away, marriages, things like that. Like, yeah, it's always sad to see someone go somewhere else, like someone move to Portland or someone move,
Is it like the the coffee cheers kind of place?
You could equivalent it to that, yeah.
Now, did you know Alexander Woodworth?
Yeah, he was a nighttime barista mostly. Sometimes daytime shifts, but
So you would see him at Racy's?
yeah, I would get off work pretty late. So a lot of times if I was coming back into town, he would be running the night shift. So
And John Hanson, was he somebody that you would see at Racy's as well during that time period?
yeah, we were very close.
Now, Ezra McCandless, are you familiar with her?
Yes,
Is the person you know as Ezra McCandless in the courtroom today?
yes.
Can you identify where she's located by just describing a general area and then an item of clothing, please?
Pink blazer to my left.
At the table to
The
my
first table,
right?
yes. Yep.
I'd ask the record reflect identification of the defendant by this witness.
The record will reflect that the witness has identified Ms. McCandless.
Now, was the defendant part of the Racy's crowd?
Yeah, like I met her there, and she was sort of inducted into it through, like, she was away from her family, so it was kind of like a close-knit family. So I think she just needed a strong center for a little while.
And what was your, speaking of the summer 2017 to into early 2018, what was your relationship with the defendant?
I can't recall exactly when we started.
What were you dating during that general time period?
It was like right after Eau Claire's festival, kind of. I ran into her there.
In 2017?
I believe so.
And I'm not familiar with the Eau Claire's festival. Was that during the summer?
Yeah, I think it was during maybe August, July, somewhere around there.
And when does it sound accurate that early February 2018 would have been the end of your relationship with the defendant?
It sounds good. I mean, I wrote out a timeline at one point when I've repressed a lot of this stuff. So the times are like not very kosher with me anymore.
That sounds generally accurate, though?
It sounds generally accurate.
Now, is there an age difference between you and the defendant?
Yes. I did not know it was large when I started, but
And when you say you didn't know it was that large when you started, did you think she was older than she actually is?
I thought she was older, and there were like strange, like, I noticed on a random, like I noticed a tassel, like a high school tassel from like your hat hanging in the car the first time we had met. And then I was going to look and see what year that said, and it was gone like the next time I met her. So I was like, Like, yeah, like I think it was like she never mentioned her age, but like I had heard like her life stories. So like I was assuming at that age.
And if you're 35-ish now,
Yeah.
would she be about 13 to 15 years younger?
Yeah, something like that.
Now, what city or municipality is the defendant from, if she ever told you?
I think she was in Stanley, I believe, living with her mother and father, but she was supposed to be, I'm not sure if she was residing in Marionette. I'm not sure how to pronounce.
But originally her family's from
The Stanley area. Yeah, I think she was going to college up there, but she was back.
And looking at the time period when you first met, so after the Eau Claire days in 2017, can you describe, or where did you first meet the defendant?
Where did I first meet her?
Yes.
I got a flat coming into town after work, right by Just Local Foods. So I walked my bike back to Racy's. Alex Woodworth was there. He was working the night shift, and pounded on the door because he would lock up. But a lot of times, if like you made an effort, he would just give you. I mean, they toss most of the coffee out. So you opened the door, said we're closed, gave me a coffee in a to-go cup, and then.
And where did you go once he gave you the coffee?
I sat down on the bench and kind of let out a huff, like a sigh, and she popped up. She was laying down so like I was on like the furthest to the left bench. She was on like the right bench, laying down.
And when you say she, you're talking about the defendant?
Yes.
Was she using the Wi-Fi there, if you know?
Yeah, she was using the Wi-Fi.
And what do you know about, did the defendant have a cell phone that had service, or did she need to be connected to Wi-Fi?
She didn't have service on her phone, and those like I am saying she, but at that moment when I met Ezra, I did not know whether she was binary, non-binary, male, female, but I recognized a female, and I think we actually maybe had a conversation about it at that time, but
Okay, so
I don't know if there's a way that they would like me to refer to pronouns.
we'll refer to Mr. McCandless as the defendant. And,
Okay, that works.
And that's how I'll refer to her. So you grabbed a coffee from Alex. Alex shut the door. You sat down, and the defendant popped up off a different bench. Is that right?
Yes.
And did you start talking?
Yeah, we talked. I'm not entirely sure what we talked about, but we talked for quite a while.
So you drank some coffee, smoked some cigarettes, I assume?
I mean, I was drinking coffee. I don't think she had any with her, but
Okay.
smoked smokes. And I think she didn't actually smoke back then, but she might have bummed one.
And then you just kind of hung out. Was it into the early morning, or do you not remember?
The sun wasn't coming up yet, but I eventually went home, and I didn't think we were going to ever see, like, we talked a little bit about art and stuff. So she had followed me on Instagram, or we had like exchanged Instagram information. And I thought that was kind of it, because under my impression, she was just there for the Eau Claire Festival. And I didn't expect to see her again.
And when was it in relation to that first meeting that you started dating the defendant?
I would say within 2 weeks, maybe. I'm not,
That's an approximation?
I have a date written down at some point, but I think it was like in July at some point when we actually made it like we're going to be dating. July 6th kind of makes sense to me for some reason.
And that would be 2017?
Roger. Or yes. Yeah.
And did the defendant eventually move in with you?
She moved in.
Approximately how long after you started dating did she move in?
Relatively quickly. I mean, I asked my roommate if it would be okay. Things weren't so good on her home front. It seemed like she was having trouble getting back into school. And I was like, well, if you want to work, want to pick up a job, work here, split went 3 ways. That works for me,
Do you think it was a couple weeks, a month, approximately after you first started dating?
It was fairly soon. I mean, Alex seemed my roommate, Alex Zink, seemed very surprised that it happened so fast, but we all seemed to like her, and she seemed to be part of the group. So,
And that brings me, so there's Alexander Woodworth, and then there's Alex Zink, right?
yes, my roommate at the time was Alexander Zink.
And
Alexander Woodworth.
Two different people.
Two different people. Yes.
Alex Zink, is the last name Z-I-N-K?
Yes.
And did he, or during that time period, did he have a girlfriend who also lived there?
Jenna, I don't think was living there at the time. Jenna was still, I believe, living with Elon and Dieter McCallum, I believe. Elon and Dieter McCallum, I believe.
And Jenna is that Jenna Van de Zand?
Van de Zand, yep.
If she wasn't living there, did she eventually move in?
She eventually moved in, yes.
That's Jenna?
Yep.
Okay. So for a time, it sounds like it was for sure you, Alex, and the defendant, and then Jenna at some point
I
moved
think we
in?
were all four residing there at one time. I believe so.
Were there certain arrangements made for rent?
It was like a verbal contract, and I mean, it's not like I don't know how you would put it. It was more of a verbal, like me and Alex had the rent, and then the idea was that she would find an occupation of some sort. I think she started working at Joanne Fabrics and just like kick in what she could. But we were all trying to help her get back into school or do something with her art because she was really involved in the art community. And I mean, it's not like we were going to like put her on the street.
So there was a loose understanding the defendant would kick in, whether it was utilities or rent.
Yeah.
Did she ever kick in for those?
I think she did at one point for a little bit, but I think times were kind of tough and she had to take part of it back.
You said she worked at Joanne Fabrics. Do you know, was that a full-time job or less than full-time?
I don't know if she was full. It was quite a few hours because it was during the seasonal time. So I'm not sure if she was hired on as seasonal help or if she was hired on as part-time, but was working like full-time hours. But she was gone pretty often for like, I'd say about a month or so. I mean, she was like very optimistic like during that period.
Did you ever Did you get a feel, or did she ever tell you if she had lots of money or if she was struggling?
I kind of knew she was not doing the greatest, but like she was always fairly charitable. Like around the holiday season, she spent a lot more on us than I thought she probably should have, which I mean, was appreciated because it is the holidays, but at the same time, I was hoping she would look out for herself.
Did the defendant have a car?
She had a silver Impala.
In that silver Impala, did it have some drawings on it?
Yeah, she painted it. The top had a bird. I think it's a shrike on a bike.
So I want to focus on the time period of when the defendant moved in with you and Alex, and then Jenna was there as well. Was your relationship roommates, or, and I'm specifically talking about you and the defendant, was it roommates or were you intimate? What was the general nature of the relationship?
It was intimate.
Were you exclusive, at least as far as you
Yes.
knew?
Yeah, I was exclusive.
So you weren't seeing anyone else?
No.
Did you think she was seeing anyone else?
What time period are we talking about?
Let's say up until, from the time she moved in until the end of 2017.
I'd say pretty confident
Okay. Confident that she wasn't seeing anyone?
that she wasn't seeing anyone. Yes.
Did you see each other daily?
Yeah, I mean, we live together in passing sometimes, usually at the coffee shop, usually, at home, depending on what day it was. I mean, I was working weird hours, but
How would you communicate if you weren't just crossing paths or at the house together? Would you call, text, Instagram?
yeah, I don't know if she had a texting app at that point. She had used a Text Now app or something at one point, but it was mostly just Facebook Messenger and Instagram for the most part.
Without getting into your personal finances or anything like that, did you provide certain things for the defendant, meaning food, money for gas, anything like that?
Judge, I'm going to object. I think this is really getting far afield. Their financial affairs. I don't think money is an issue in this case.
I'm gonna overrule. You may answer. Go ahead.
I mean, we provided, so like, I would say that it was becoming a little financially straining because me and Alex, I didn't want it to ruin our friendship financially because he felt like with the situation.
Object to him testifying as to what his roommate Alex
Sustain
felt.
what,
I'll ask a follow-up question to clarify. Were you paying rent and not getting contributions from the defendant?
Yes, I was paying rent, but not getting contributions.
Okay. Were you emotionally invested in each other?
Yes, very much.
Did you say I love you back and forth?
Often.
Did you have a certain tagline for Instagram messages or?
A tagline, like a thing that we would say often.
When you'd say goodbye, was there anything specific you'd say?
Yes.
So you are loved and you are valued?
Yes. Yep. Sorry.
And would that go back and forth?
Very
You would say it to her, she'd say it to you?
Yes.
Did you ever meet the defendant's family?
Oh, yeah. I met them on a very auspicious occasion, but yes.
Did that include her mother, her father, grandparents?
Yes, she had a very large family. I only realized that once I started meeting them all that there was, a lot of personalities in the house.
And did she introduce you to them?
I met her mother initially at the clinic after her car accident. And then I kind of, through that, met everybody else. I didn't know how to meet them with the age gap. I didn't know if it would be awkward or weird. So I wasn't opposed to it, but it kind of came at a strange time. And she seemed to trust me quite a bit because she stayed at the hospital, finished up stuff, and then I drove Ezra back to their place. Was
it a relationship where you would go to family functions, whether it was a holiday or a picnic?
Yeah, from time to time. I wasn't always privy to that kind of stuff because I'm not much of a holiday person, but she would ask me, and I was always welcomed, whether it was Christmas, Thanksgiving, anything.
Were you close enough that you had at least some of her family members' phone numbers in your phone?
Yes, I had a few of them.
What were some of and we'll just briefly touch on this, what were some of the things that you and the defendant would do in your free time? You mentioned biking. Is that something that you shared?
Yeah, I bike a lot.
Did you and the defendant bike together?
Oh yeah, I built her up a bike.
Did you go hiking, get coffee, things like that?
Go hiking, get coffee. Photo walks once in a while. I wasn't really into photography, but she was very into photography.
And I assume, were there some ups and downs in your relationship?
There always is, yeah.
But there were times when you certainly were happy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Your Honor, if I may approach.
You may.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Is he kidding with this?
I'm going to show you what's marked as Exhibit 684.
All right.
Do you recognize the people in these photographs?
Yeah, that's me.
Is that you and the defendant?
Yes, me and Ezra.
Okay, and is that a series of photographs taken during your relationship?
Yes.
Okay. I would move Exhibit 684 into evidence and ask for permission to publish briefly.
Any objection?
No.
All right, exhibit 284 will be received.
684. If I said 284, I apologize.
684.
Oh,
Now-
we've got the tears and the Bambi
Mr. Mengel,
eyes.
those are obviously photographs of one of the happy times, right?
Yeah, we're just on the couch goofing around.
Okay. During your relationship with the defendant, was there ever talk about a future between the two of you?
Yeah, we meshed very well. Like, I thought that there was probably some type of future, and it was, initially it was very good.
Was there ever talk about potential marriage at some point?
I think we joked about it quite a bit. Like, it was kind of like a running trend. I don't think we took it super, super seriously, but we had, I would like call her my wife once in a while just for fun. She'd call me her husband.
In a flirtatious kind of way?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever talk about having children together?
No.
At some point early on in your relationship, did the defendant get pregnant?
Yes.
And that was pregnant by you?
I do not know, like, who's.
As far as you know,
I
there's
was
no
just,
reason.
I mean, yeah, at the time I was like assuming that.
You were in a sexual relationship with her in that time period, correct?
Yes.
And as far as you know, it was at that point it was a.
As far as I know, it was exclusive at that point.
Okay.
Yes.
And was that in the September-October time period in 2017?
I believe so. I think it was right before her birthday,
When is her birthday, if you remember?
October 6th.
Okay.
I believe.
And it would have been 2017 because that's the time period that you were dating, right?
Yes, we were dating.
How did you find out that the defendant was pregnant?
Well, I kept trying to talk her into going into the clinic because she was she was vomiting a lot. She seemed really sick, lethargic. She wasn't putting on any weight, and I thought she had mono or something. So she was like, well, I don't have insurance. I don't have the money for this. I don't want to go in. And I was like, you need to go in because, this is just like medic Jason talking. Like, I'm worried for you. You shouldn't be puking this much. And yeah, we went in and she got one of the baseline tests they do is a pregnancy test.
And
Oh,
she
hold
was
on a
told she was
second, you
pregnant?
guys.
Yes.
Let me just a second
Did
here.
the defendant shortly thereafter have an abortion?
Yes.
Did you and the
Oh, okay. This is Medic Jason talking now. Medic Jason, I'm sorry. Is puking a medical term? Is that what is that a medical term? Because I'm unfamiliar with puking, Medic Jason, being used as a medical term. Usually the medical term is vomiting. But all right, I'm gonna go ahead and let you continue making yourself look like an a-hole. Especially saying, I assumed it was mine. Like there was a question. Come on, dude. Stop playing with these people.
Defendant ever discuss whether or not she would have an abortion?
Not really verbally. It was kind of at the, when they told her that she was pregnant, I didn't say anything, and she's asked for paperwork, and I'm
Judge, I'd
operating.
like to approach the bench.
So, Mr. Mengel, I'll ask a different question. Same area. So you,
Hey, Nikki
is it
Rex.
fair
Good
that
to
you
see you,
didn't
babe.
have much of a verbal conversation about whether or not the defendant would have an abortion?
I'm under the understanding that it's the woman's choice. So like when the actions were started, I just stepped back and let what happened happen because.
So there wasn't a real conversation about.
No, I wasn't going to like tell her what to do.
You certainly didn't pressure her to have one, correct?
No.
And the abortion that eventually happened in Minnesota, is that right?
Yes.
And you drove her to the clinic, or you went with her at least?
I went with her. Yes.
And you paid for the abortion?
Yes.
And when you got to the clinic, she told you that she didn't want you at the clinic, correct?
Yeah, it was very strange because I didn't know. I mean, it was a very surreal situation for me in general, but I thought that she would want me there for support. But then she told me that she just wanted, she didn't want me to see her like this or any of that. So I was understanding, and I kind of just hopped on a bus and bummed around town.
So you just kind of rode the buses
Rode the buses, bummed around, yeah.
and eventually went back to the clinic?
Yeah, after I got a message from her.
Prior to the abortion, you mentioned that your relationship was intimate. Was that, did intimacy change after the abortion?
Okay. I'm also going to have to take another moment here because I don't think I've ever heard a story told quite this way about a situation where, that's taking place. I don't know how YouTube feels about that word, so I'm just going to be careful, but y'all know what I'm talking about. And the person that is responsible for the person having the procedure done is bumming around taking buses. Like, bruh, you're over 30, okay? You are a medic. You have a job. How are you bumming around? I mean, what is happening here? Bumming around on the buses. You couldn't, I don't know, go to the CVS's and get her some Motrin or, a card, maybe some flowers. Like, yeah. All right, here we go. I already don't like you, Jason. You're already not scoring high on the Google review by yours truly, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah, it was very, very minimal.
Would you, and I should have asked this earlier, the sleeping arrangements up to that point when she first moved into the apartment, did you share a room?
Yep, we shared a room.
And shared a bed?
Yes.
After the abortion, did you end up sleeping on the couch or on the floor?
I slept on the couch quite a bit. It was just hard on me.
And would the defendant sleep in the bed?
Yeah, she would try to coax me upstairs, and I just wasn't emotionally ready for it.
So the couch was in a different room altogether?
Downstairs, yeah.
Now, shortly after, or sometime within the months after the abortion, did you take a trip to California?
Yeah, I went with my friend Josh. And
Where in California did you go?
Is this
we
attorney
flew
even,
into
hold on a minute now.
Detroit for
I don't know how I didn't notice this before. Is this attorney even old enough to be asking these questions? I don't understand. Is it take your son to work day? What's happening here? Where'd this kid come from?
first. Then we went to San Francisco, took the Redwood Coastal Transit up to Arcata. It's like where the redwoods are.
What was how long were you gone approximately?
About a week.
And what was the purpose of the trip?
He had some stressful things in his life at that moment, and I had a lot of stress. And I think, but we had talked about it at the coffee shop, and Ezra was supportive. She's like, we've all been through a lot. And
Yeah, you can say that, Heather.
the Redwoods is like a place of like growth, and there's all this beauty and plants and stuff. So maybe going there would help me recenter myself and being out in an environment besides Eau Claire, because Eau Claire is a great town to miss. It's a good place to come home to sometimes. It can get a little too much sometimes.
Now, was that November, December time period, or?
It sounds about right.
Okay.
I have dates written down somewhere, but I've repressed a lot of this stuff.
And at some point, you actually created a little bit of a timeline. Well, I'll come back to that. I want to go ahead a little bit we'll talk about January into February of 2018. Are you familiar with the game Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh yeah, D&D.
And what, you said D&D?
Yeah, D&D.
Okay. If you could explain for the jury what just generally that is.
You roll dice. It's kind of like a game of chance, but like I'm saying like a lot. It's improv with your friends. So you create a character, you go to a place, and someone runs the whole session, and the rest of the players, create like whatever, a bard or a cleric or something. And like the whole idea is to like get you involved. And like Josh, who ran the campaigns, he would create these environments for your personality, your character to like go through.
We've all seen Stranger Things. We know how Dungeons and Dragons works. Thank you.
A social,
you ruined it
like
for
people
me,
getting
though.
together to play a board game kind of thing.
There's nothing like digital about it. It's just.
All right. He's lost another 50 points from Hufflepuff due to the fact that I like Dungeons and Dragons, but I can tell you right now, I would not play Dungeons and Dragons with you, Jason. Sorry, not sorry. I said what I said.
A board, or not really even a board. It's just like they'll do like a map so we can draw out where we're doing things or what's going on. And sometimes tokens. It's mostly just a chance to like play a make-believe with your friends again. So it's kind of fun.
Was that a kind of a getaway for you?
Yeah, we did it on Monday nights.
Is that a regular Monday night thing?
For quite a while, yes. Yeah.
Did the defendant ever get in the way of you going to those Monday night events?
There were times. I mean, I thought it would help her, so I kind of inducted her into the group to like, kind of push Josh to like let her play too, because I thought maybe a little fantasy and like something would get her out of character and like her life for a little while. But she didn't like the numbers so much in the game, and she always kind of felt like she wasn't doing as good, or she couldn't pretend as good as people. So she stopped coming, and then there were a few times where I don't know if she just didn't want me to go because she was worried I was going to talk bad about her or something, but like she would find a reason to try to make me stay.
And was there a regular reason that she would give you to try to make you stay?
She would get manic at some times and threaten like self-harm.
So she would threaten self-harm, you said?
At times, yes.
And would she tell you if she wanted you to come home or she wanted you to stay or what?
She wanted me to stay, and I felt really bad a lot of these times because it was like it always seemed to be the one.
Judge, I'd like to approach the bench.
That's what he said. Vincent's missing ear.
I'm sorry. We're going to have you just step out for a few minutes. All rise. All right. As long as we're on this, we just had a sidebar, so we'll clear this up right now. The defense objection is basically related to the court's pretrial ruling about lay opinions. And Mr. Mengel's probably not aware of that necessarily. And just in his testimony here, he gave an opinion about Ms. McCandless being, quote, manic, quote, and then threatening self-harm. So that's the nature of the objection. So there was a suggestion that we do take a short recess with the jury so the court could give some instruction to Mr. Mengel. So, Mr. Mengel, you can testify to your observations, but not to your opinions. Okay?
Okay, Roger.
So you just have to be very careful about that, because sometimes witnesses tend to want to give an explanation before they give an answer. So if you would do your best to just focus on the question that is asked of you and answer that question without giving a preface or an opinion about someone else. There is a ruling, the court is not allowing any laypersons to give opinions about mental health or diagnoses, that sort of thing, unless they have the credentials and they've been called as an expert. So, however, you are allowed to give your observations about things that happen, things you see, things you hear. I mean, if you're asked about those things. Okay?
Okay.
But just keep in mind that a witness can only testify about things of their own.
Oh my gosh. All right, Your Honor, we get it. He can say that she's batshit crazy or she acted buck-ass wild, but not crazy. He can say buck-ass wild. She got buck-ass wild, but he can't say manic. We got it. Thank you. Roger. Sheesh.
Personal knowledge with some exception. But anything else the counsel would ask that Mr. Mengel be instructed on?
Not from the state, Judge.
All right. Is the defense satisfied with that instruction to Mr. Mengel?
1 minute. I'm just.
I thought you were done with using words because you seem to be using words perfectly fine, Miss Ma'am.
And the court to instruct the
All
jury
right.
to.
Well, that's water over the dam at this point. So that's going to stand, as the defense had indicated in the sidebar. They've waived it up until now. I don't believe the state was trying to elicit that opinion. And so I think saying something more to the jury is just going to draw more attention to it. So I'm not going to say anything further. But again, I understand you're a medic, but you're not called to give professional opinions. And so, again, stick to observations and, just focus on what is asked and try and limit your answer to what the attorney asks. Okay?
Roger.
Okay, so let's bring the jury back in. All rise. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, and Mr. Hahn, you may continue your direct examination.
Thank you. Mr. Mengel, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. You mentioned before that you know an individual, John Hanson, correct?
Yes.
How long have you known John Hanson?
Probably about 4 or 5 years.
Do you remember how you first met him?
I believe it was actually at D&D. Josh was running a campaign and I met him and his wife at the time.
Would you consider yourselves, and we'll focus really on the summer 2017 through March of 2018. So the same kind of time frame we've been talking about already. Were you friends at that time?
Yeah, exceptionally close.
Did you ever hang out with John Hanson as well as the defendant at the same time?
Yeah, on multiple occasions.
As far as you could tell, were the defendant and John Hanson friends or were they acquaintances?
They were friends. They had interests and hobbies.
Now, was there a time period was there a date when you saw from the outside of your apartment, John Hanson and the defendant inside of your apartment?
There were multiple times, I guess, but yeah, there was one specific one at the.
Was there I guess we'll call it an incident that you observed?
It seemed like an incident, but at the time I wasn't sure because.
So let me just kind of walk through that one by one. What did you observe from the outside of the apartment?
Well, he kind of was like doing a choking style maneuver and she was trying to like break out of it.
And that was, John was doing that to the defendant?
Yes.
Had you seen John do that to people before?
Yeah, it was kind of a thing. Like it was, he has a military background as well. And it was more like I'm going to teach you how to do this in case an assailant tries to hurt you or something. I didn't think any of that, but I finished my cigarette. It wasn't of any warrant to me to rush in there.
It wasn't shocking to you?
No, it wasn't shocking.
You didn't have the impression that the defendant was in any real danger?
Duress, no.
So you finished your cigarette and then you walked in. Do you remember what John did?
He seemed kind of shocked, and then he left.
Now I want to talk about February. Do you remember, so this is February 2018, do you remember being away on military assignment during that time period?
Yeah, I believe so.
Do you remember approximately how long you were gone?
It was probably about 2 or 3 weeks.
Was the defendant still living at your apartment in the beginning of February 2018?
Yes.
And did that change?
While I was gone, yes.
And you've talked to a number of officers in preparation for, or during this investigation, is that correct?
Oh, yes, very much.
And and you've also had an opportunity to review some of the transcripts of those recorded interviews?
Yes.
And if I was able to show you a portion of a transcript, would that help refresh your memory as to what dates you were actually gone in February 2018?
I believe it would.
Your Honor, may I approach? You may. Counsel, it's DOJ 4320. Let me show you.
Yes, please.
Right, and you can read as much of this as you need to, but I'll have you at some point focus in on the highlighted portion, and don't tell me anything out loud, just tell me when you've had a chance to review that.
Yeah, I reviewed it.
Does that refresh your recollection as to when you were gone?
Yes, it says,
And then I'll take this away from you, and if you could just tell me, based on your refreshed recollection, what dates approximately you were gone in February 2018?
it said 4th to 14th, I believe. Or I didn't know I was going to have to read it out. Sorry. I was reading my own words. I wasn't sure I was going to have to speak them again. 05 to 13.
Okay. And what were the dates that you were gone, if you recall?
05 to 14.
So February 5th to February 14th, 2018?
Yes.
Do you remember you said that the defendant living with you at the apartment changed while you were gone. How did you become aware that that changed?
We had a conversation one night. She seemed kind of distant, but I didn't think anything was too amiss. And the next morning she had messaged me that she needed to move out.
Did that catch you off guard?
Yeah, very.
Do you remember if that was at the beginning or the end of that time you were gone?
It's kind of like in the middle of it, I believe.
Did the defendant actually move out of the apartment?
When I returned home, her stuff was gone. So yes.
So from the time period that the defendant moved out, and I'll ask you some follow-up questions, so I'm just looking for whether or not you're aware. Are you aware of so between the time period she moved out and then March 22nd, which is the date we're really here for today, are you aware where she lived? Different
She
locations?
had multiple residences. at
Okay.
that time.
Are you aware that she lived with her mother for a time?
Yes.
Did she tell you that?
Yeah, she had told me.
And did she tell you that she lived with her dad, Joe Shane, or Joe Carlin, for a while as well?
Yes.
Did the defendant tell you that she was looking for an apartment in the Eau Claire area?
Yeah, I believe her and Alex and I can't remember, Sarah, I believe, were possibly going to get an apartment together.
So you said that the defendant and Alex, so you're talking about Alex Woodworth?
Alex Woodworth, yes.
And Samantha, does that sound right?
Samantha, yes, she's a teacher.
Did the defendant ever talk to you about wanting to stay in Eau Claire?
I think she wanted to stay in Eau Claire. I don't think she wanted to move back to Stanley.
Were there times during the time period that when she moved out up until that March 22nd date that she stayed in a hotel?
Yes,
How do you know that?
I was there as well.
Did you get the hotel for her?
She didn't have any money, so yes.
She didn't have money, so yes, you did.
It was kind of a safe haven. She was not having a good, her home situation wasn't always optimal, so.
So is it she?
Judge, I'm going to object to that.
Okay, again, just a reminder, Mr. Mengel,
Yes.
you don't have to explain, just answer the questions.
So can I go ahead, Judge?
Yes, go ahead.
So she needed a place to stay and you were helping her out.
She just needs somewhere to stay.
Was she welcome at your apartment anymore?
Alex and Jenna had kind of voiced their opinion on it.
Now, I'm going to object to anything Alex and John told him is here.
Okay, I'll sustain on hearsay grounds for any content.
So you staying at your apartment wasn't an option, is that right?
Yes, it wasn't an option.
And I think you said this, did you stay at the hotel with her on the nights that there was a hotel for her to stay at?
Yes.
During one of the times that you were at the hotel or a hotel, did you observe some messages on the defendant's phone?
Yes.
And who were those messages, if you know, who were the messages between?
Between her and John
Hanson?
Hanson, yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's marked as Exhibit 473 first, 474, 475, and 476. So first of all, if you could look at 473, do you recognize what that, just a yes or no, do you recognize what that document is?
Yes, I recall this.
Is that a snapshot of some of the messages you saw on the defendant's?
Yeah, I screenshotted them and sent them to my phone.
So when you say screenshotted, do you mean you used
Yeah,
her device?
We used multiple buttons, and I think I did that, or maybe I took a photo. I can't recall for sure at this moment. But
Is that an accurate copy of the messages you remember seeing on the defendant's phone?
of just this first one or the entire?
Just the first one first.
Yes.
And then if I could have you look at Exhibit 474, please.
Okay.
And the same question, do you recognize those messages?
Yes,
Are those again messages between the defendant and John Hanson?
they are.
And are those messages that you snapshotted on her device and sent to you or took a picture with your device?
Either of the, I can't recall for sure which, but I sent them to myself.
And again, is that an accurate copy of the messages that you remember seeing?
They are.
And the next exhibit, I believe, should be 475. Is that correct?
Yes.
Same question. Do you recognize those as being messages that you observed on the defendant's device between the defendant and John Hanson?
Yes.
And again, you either captured them somehow
They captured them somehow.
and
Yes.
sent them to your phone or kept them on your phone?
Yes.
And those are accurate as you remember them?
Yeah, they haven't been altered or anything. They're accurate.
And then the final one, I believe, is Exhibit 476. Are those again accurate messages between the defendant and John Hanson as you saw them on her device while at the hotel in the time period we talked about?
Yes.
And are those accurate as you recall them?
Yeah, as accurate as I can recall.
Your Honor, I'd move Exhibits 473 through 476 into evidence and ask the published to the jury by putting on the
All right, previous objection noted, preserved for the record. Court will receive Exhibits 473 through 476 and may be published to the jury.
First is Exhibit 473. And Mr. Mengel, those are dated February 11th, 2018. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that's the sent date.
And from your recollection of these messages, are you able to say which, either the blue bubbles or the white bubbles are the defendant or John Hanson?
It's stressful looking for places, so that would be Ezra McCandless.
Okay, so the blue would be the defendant
Yes,
and the white would be John Hanson?
yes.
Okay, and if you could just read the first message from the defendant, from John Hanson at the top says, nice, correct?
Correct.
And how does the defendant respond?
It's stressful looking for places, so that would be nice to relieve.
And it actually says relive, correct?
I think she meant relieve, but yeah, relive.
And then the next message down is again from the defendant. What does that say?
Judge, I'm going to object to. Mr.
I've
Mengel.
sustained, again, Mr. Mengel, just what you see, not what you
Yes, sir.
think or interpret or think she meant, but just what you observe, okay?
Roger.
If I could have you read the next message, starting with working out.
Working out, again, does really make you want to fuck everything that's moved.
And then the next message again from the defendant says what?
Might also be a predator.
And then the last message there, which is from John Hanson, is cut off. Is that right?
Yeah, a body in motion wants to stay in motion.
Okay, and I'll show you Exhibit 474. Does the top message pick up where that message left off?
Yes, it does.
If you could read the first blue message from the defendant,
Are you going to pound this anytime soon?
and the message below that is what?
Sorry, I'm rude.
Again, from the defendant.
Yes.
And the response from John Hanson.
Not this week. I have more on. It's all right to be blunt. Just got to be all right with it coming back your way.
How familiar, you're good friends with John Hanson?
Yes,
Are you familiar with whether he has a child?
he does.
And what is that child's name?
Warren.
And the message below that from the defendant, the final one on this screenshot, is what?
Just let me know when I get my next in and out. Also hanging and doing art again would be nice because you're more than a good dick.
Move on to Exhibit 475.
Oh my. Let me just pause real quick here for some
If you
commentary.
could read, starting with the top message.
First of all, I wasn't prepared for the F-bomb to be dropped so quickly. But I do want to give a special shout out to the attorney for using the overhead and not some poster board that he got on sale at Office Max when he went and bought his school supplies. Because obviously he's just now graduated school. Like, this guy looks super young. But yeah, that's a lot. It also I wasn't prepared, correct, Angry Mimi, for the D either. And I didn't think that these text messages were going to go this way because, of yesterday's testimony. But my goodness, all the yikes on the bikes. It's too much. Making me want to clutch my pearls. And I don't even have pearls to clutch. All right, let's get back to it. Let's see. Yikes. Right. Yes. The wasted poster board. It's terrible. All right, here we go.
From, in the blue, from the defendant.
That should be nice. He's such a cool kid.
And the response from John Hanson.
Why, thank you. He's a good kid. I'm looking forward to spending some dad time with him.
And the next message from the defendant.
That melts my heart. I'd love to paint with him sometime.
And then it looks like there's a date that says February 12th, 2018 at 7:40 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And the next message from the defendant says what?
Good night, nonstop.
Feeling like
Mom.
a snake today. What's wriggling in your mind?
And there's another bubble with a date and time, February 12th, 2018 at 8:11 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And what is the response from from John Hanson?
I've been with Warren all day. My mind is pretty preoccupied.
Let me show you Exhibit 476. Starting at the top, that's the message you just read, correct?
Correct.
And then there's another bubble that says February 12th, 2018 at 8:58 PM, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And what is the message underneath that from the defendant?
That's understandable dad time.
And then there's a bubble that says February 14th, 2018 at 6:45 PM, is that correct?
Hey, Curious Rose, good to
And the
see you,
message
babe.
below that from the defendant says what?
See something, say nothing, and drink to forget. Happy Valentine's.
And there's another bubble, February 14th, 2018 at 8:27 PM, correct?
Yes.
And there's a message from John Hanson below that. What does that say?
That's beautiful as Happy Valentine's.
And
Or Ezra.
Ezra. And there's another bubble that says February 15th, 2018 at 12:14 PM, correct?
Yes.
And the last message from the defendant to John Hanson says what?
I have a way with words, John. Ah.
It's AHAH, correct?
Yeah.
Done with that for now, thank you. Was there a conversation that followed your discovery of those messages?
Yeah, we had a conversation
And that was a conversation between you and the defendant?
between me and the defendant and between me and John via telephone.
Now, let's start with your conversation between you and the defendant. What did the defendant tell you about those messages?
She insisted that it was of a malicious manner, like that it wasn't what I thought.
Did she tell you, and I don't want you to assume, I just want you to tell me what she told you if she did. Did she tell you anything that explains what you mean when you say it was in a malicious manner?
Not until we had actually left the hotel, because we went on a drive, but that's when she inferred to it being it's like an assault.
Said that John Hanson assaulted her?
Yes.
Did she say whether that was before or after those messages that you saw?
Did you say that before or after?
I should rephrase that. So the messages aren't from the date that you saw them, are they?
No, I think I screenshotted them for my own levity.
And
I didn't get that. Can you repeat
I screenshotted them for my own levity to save, because I was thinking I was losing my mind in all these conversations with.
Okay, Medic Jason Roger, you don't screenshot those types of conversation for levity. That's not what the term levity means, but I'm really not so sure how those text messages mean something completely different. I'm verklempt. I'm just going to push play.
People.
so the messages say February 11th through 14th as the dates. You didn't see them till a couple weeks later, is that
Yes,
right?
until later on.
So did the defendant tell you that as she described it, the assault by John Hanson occurred before or after the dates on the messages?
I cannot recall. I know that the assault happened while I was gone.
And at some point, you actually created
I created a timeline.
a bit of a timeline, correct?
Yeah,
And that was based on information that you knew at the time you created the timeline?
I was trying to make sense of it all.
Did that have a date that you're aware of that you believe the assaults to have happened on?
Yeah, I don't think I put it in. I put it on the paperwork, yes.
And if I showed you that timeline that you created, would that help refresh your recollection as to when you believe the assaults to have occurred?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Okay. Hold on just a second. I got to pause real quick. Okay. Now listen, the Roger has been getting on my nerves. Okay. But look, I think Jason may have just redeemed, excuse me, let me call him by his proper title. Medic Jason Roger may have just redeemed himself because homeboy took screenshots and created a timeline. I'm sorry. I know it's not funny, but it is kind of a little bit. I mean, I'm going to have to give him plus 3 points, 5 points. because for the timeline. I mean, when you go the extra mile to screenshot is one thing, but then you go and make a timeline of events. That's the level of extra AF that I can appreciate. I'm sorry. I have to give it up to old medic Jason Roger here. Well played, sir. Well played. Allie, after the testimony, I'll explain since you missed last night. All right, here we go. No more interruptions. Oh, and he can shoot some dirty looks too, because that's what he just shot her. That's right, girl. I screenshot it and made a timeline, ma'am.
Oh, Mr. Mengel, does this look like the timeline that you created?
Yes, this is the one I gave the police officers.
And I'm going to ask you just to review it, and then I'll ask you some follow-up questions once you've had a chance to take a look and see if it refreshes your memory.
Yeah, it's the second hash mark on here.
Okay, so you've had a chance to review that document. Does that refresh your recollection as to when you believe the assaults occurred?
4 or 5.
As February 4th or 5th?
Yes, the hash mark, second hash mark on there.
And again, we're talking about the 2018 time period, right?
Yes,
So that would have been before the dates on the messages we looked at on the screen, correct?
yeah,
That was a side-eye
the
deluxe
4 and
combo
5 is
meal.
because the assault was, there were 2 assaults apparent. One at night and one in the morning prior, like afterwards. So I was under the impression it was she had been at his house, and then the next day was also.
And we'll walk through that in a second here. You said that the conversation initially was between you and the defendant, and then there was a phone call to John Hanson. Did you confront him about what the defendant was telling you
Yes,
and about what the messages showed?
yes.
And did John Hanson tell you that initially there wasn't a sexual assault, there wasn't a sexual encounter?
There was nothing at all, he said at first. And once I produced things, the story has changed, and I just didn't know who to trust.
Okay. And we'll just walk through this step by step here. So you said that there were really 2 incidents, and we based on your timeline, we're looking at February 4th and February 5th. What specifically did the defendant tell you happened during the February 4th incident?
The nighttime one?
Yes.
They had all been drinking together. They were kind of giving her a hard time for not keeping up. So she was trying to drink with the boys, I guess. And
And let me just stop you there. Who was they? They were drinking together.
John and Ryan.
Is that John's roommate at the time?
John's roommate, yes.
So John, Ryan, and the defendant were drinking, right?
Yes.
What did the defendant tell you happened next?
She stated that she was being taken upstairs. Well, she had puked in the toilet quite a bit. Ryan went to bed, and she was taken upstairs and laid in bed. And she just assumed, she assumed that she was being taken care of. She could just use the bed then.
Did the defendant tell you what she said John did next?
She said that she felt her tights being pulled down at some point.
Did the defendant say that John had sex with her?
She says when she woke up, she said that something felt off. She says in the moment of it, she was blacked out, drunk pretty much. So
that's what she said.
Vaguely.
And I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was information that she told you.
Yeah, that there was that a woman will know some things if something has happened in the morning.
Did the defendant tell you if John told her to go into another room?
I think I believe he asked her to go into a different room. Yes, I can't recall though for sure.
Okay. Now it sounds like a nighttime incident. And then did the defendant tell you that if she stayed over at John's house that night?
She stayed over and he dropped her off in the morning, I believe.
So on February 5th, 2018, you referenced the second assault. What specifically did the defendant tell you happened on February 5th?
She said that he dropped her off. She said that he played kind of coy to it, that nothing had happened. So he dropped her off.
Was
Went
that
into to use the bathroom
Was that dropped her off at the apartment that
at our apartment? Yes.
Okay. You said John came in to use the bathroom?
That's what I believe she had stated,
And what did the defendant tell you happened next?
that there was a second assault at the apartment.
Did the defendant tell you where that happened in the apartment?
On my bed. Our bed.
Were you still in a dating relationship with the defendant at the time of that assault on February 4th,
Yes.
as well as February 5th?
Yes.
Did you have any artwork in your room at the apartment?
There's lots of pieces of art in the apartment.
Was there a specific piece hanging over the bed?
Yes, there was.
Do you remember if that painting over the bed was there when the defendant and John Hanson were in there on February 5th, 2018?
I believe it would have been. I was still there when I returned.
Okay, so it was there when you left and it was there when you returned? Do you know what eventually happened to that painting?
I know I gave it back because I felt weird. It had sentimental value and I didn't want it looming over my head. But I believe she traded it with Maxwell.
Is that Max Martinson?
Yes. They did like an art swap.
Wow. Oh, stop sharing. Stop. Wow. Holy guacamole. And I see Ezra has, we're going to see, I guess, this other look of this. What's the look what I call it yesterday? I think the 1100 ways to wear the blazer. This time that's the layered blazer again, the pink over the black blazer. Wow. That's a lot. Okay. So what happened, Allie, that you missed yesterday was an officer testified. He got a call, or he was dispatched out to Racy's, okay, because Jason, excuse me, I keep forgetting to call him by his proper name, medic Jason Roger, and John Hanson and Ezra had a confrontation at the old Racy's where everything happens. Confrontations, hookups, flat tires for your bike, laying on benches, popping up like weasels, all the things happen at the Racy's, right? So when the officer is talking to Ezra about why these guys are fighting, that's when she tells the officer about this assault. And the officer takes her down to the police station, and she relays what happened. And it was actually more than one. There was a physical assault. Then a few days after the physical assault, where Ezra said he choked her and put her in a headlock. Then he did. Then he took her over. John took her over to picked her up and took her over to his apartment where they were drinking. And that's when the first essay occurred. And then the next morning, he brought her back to the apartment she shared with medic Jason Roger, and forced her to perform oral. And that's what she relayed. But yesterday, the officer was asked if he was aware of anything happening with that case. And he said no, which I surmise was the state's way of getting of saying that this essay was a lie. And now that I've heard the text messages that were read, I still am like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it because I don't know yet. I'll be able to talk more. I'll be better about it tomorrow. But I feel like I don't care. I don't like the way I don't like the way the state did what they did with the incident with the essay claim allegation, I should say, not claim. This essay allegation, because it felt sneaky and it felt underhanded, and it felt like they were implying that the reason it wasn't prosecuted was it was because of a lie. And the truth of the matter is, at this point, I don't have anything else to say otherwise, and maybe it'll come in later and I'll change my mind. But I feel like there's all kinds of reasons crimes don't get prosecuted. And it could very well be essays that occur in a date R situation, right, are harder sometimes to prosecute because look, there was drinking, and they're going to put the victim on trial. And sometimes, it is what it is sometimes, and it's unfortunate. However, I do think that it's very, very possible, right, that what the state is alleging is accurate, that she did make up this essay allegation, and that what they really are attempting to show the jury is that she is capable of lying, right? But this is more than just lying, that in order to cover up a dalliance that she had with John Hanson, that she would go so far as to actually, make a report. I think that's really what they're attempting to do. But in my opinion, the text messages, having heard medic Jason Roger read the text messages out loud, and the nature of the text messages, sort of does connect it. Yesterday, I didn't feel like the two incidences between, John Hanson and then what Ezra says occurred that caused her to have to defend herself. That's her defense, is that it was self-defense with Alex Woodworth. At first, until I heard those text messages, they weren't, in my opinion, the events were not connected. And I'm different about text messages. I like those text messages. Okay, we heard them. They were inflammatory. They were, right? But they're a portion of text message. And, I always like to see what was said, well before that. Do you know what I mean? So you can get a better view of the overall conversation. However, it appears that these text messages are the work of medic, now professional screenshotter, timeline maker, Jason Roger. And so, of course, he screenshotted what was important to him, right? So I don't know. I will say this. I got to give homeboy props for screenshotting and making a timeline. Like, that is I'm not even gonna lie, that's some ward level stuff. I feel like that's something that I would I would do. I'd be like, all right, but see, if I were doing the screenshotting, I would screenshot days prior, right? I would probably screen record the whole dadgum chain of text, because I would want everybody to see everything. I mean, if you're going to screenshot and you're going to show, might as well screenshot and show it all. You know what I mean? And I don't, he says that they, let me highlight this. Heather, he said that they're not altered. I have and the defense did not object to them. So I'm curious. Well, I mean, it looks like, I don't know. We'll see, because I'm wondering if the defense is going to come in with the full conversation more than what they just admitted into evidence. Perhaps, yeah, like this is what I'm exactly, Molson man. Show all the things. But this is it is weird. If you would want what's the proof for? Obviously, you have two versions of the same event, correct? You have, and you have you have Ezra's version and you have John's version, right? And of course, you could make the argument that if somebody were confronted with that, a guilty person would deny it equally as an innocent person. Okay. So that's not surprising that there was a denial. A denial doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't occur. Right. But I think what's more interesting is that for whatever reason, something that he hasn't testified to, because, yet anyway, because we still have, I didn't mean to close that. Let me look. I think there's 3 parts to his testimony. I think there might actually be 4. Let me look. But anyway, I think it also, them showing that goes to show that even he didn't believe her story, because otherwise, why would he be screenshotting it? Why would he go through the trouble of screenshotting and making a timeline? Like, that is, I enjoy extra AF, but that's really extra AF. I still enjoy it, but still, let me see. Yeah, there's 3 parts. So it just seems, yes, Allie, let me wait. Wait, what? I mean, that makes sense too. Max 2002, it does. It absolutely makes sense. But I think that's probably the most likely and reasonable explanation. But I think that no, babe. Those texts were between John and Ezra, not Jason and Ezra. Jason simply screenshotted them. Yes, babe. Yeah. I mean, I'll stick around for a little while, but the testimony's over as far as that goes. But yeah, the texts were between John and Ezra. Bless Allie. Yeah, babe. Yeah, they definitely did seem like they liked each other, right? But it was Ezra and John that liked each other, and not Medic Jason, Roger, screenshotter, and timeline creator. Correct. Vincent's missing here, as one does during the normal course of the day. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think so far? I'm inclined to think that it's very, very possible that the essay did not occur, that it was made up. But I just don't like the way they did it. I think there was a better way to put that in there. Okay, so yeah, it's always possible that it's okay. If you know what you're doing, all right, yes, can you create a screenshot? Yes, you can. But this is my thing. And this is why I'm actually believing that the screenshots are accurate, because the defense has objected. They objected to him calling her manic, for Pete's sake. Okay. And I feel like if they thought that if they had any inclination, and that would have to come from Ezra, she would have record of those texts, right? That if there was any hint of anything being off, they would have objected. So I'm glad you made it, Kezchik. Well, Allie, I think it's more, I can't highlight that because obviously, but I actually think that it's the reason that they showed those specific screenshots are because, or that specific chain of texts. One, it's because those are texts that were exchanged previous to the confrontation that occurred at Racy's. So that all those texts were what, the 12th, 13th, 14th of February, or 4th, somewhere. They go from like the beginning of February to like the middle of February, right? Well, the confrontation at Racy's occurred at the end of February, almost a month before Alex's murder. So yeah, I think that yes, also exactly, Angry Mimi. That's also a good, I know. That's how I feel too, Max, but it's so it's so upsetting to think that something happened like that. You know what I'm saying? That would occur, that somebody would lie like that. That's a serious lie. You know what I mean? And it just, and even the fact that I'm sitting here doubting it, because I will listen always to the victim, and my inclination is to believe a victim until I'm proven otherwise. But it is starting to stack up that it doesn't look like she was being honest about it. So, yeah. And I think that the reason the screenshots were shown is because I think that the conversation would have taken place after Ezra says the assault occurred. And so I think the point is, would a victim be speaking to the perpetrator in that manner? And I don't know, to be truthful. I think it's different when the dynamic is somebody that you know. When it's like obviously a stranger, right? But I don't know. I think the dynamic is different, and I don't know. I don't want to be too judgy, but I think that's the point of it all. And then if you add that with the fact that it wasn't prosecuted, I think that's the point they're trying to make, which they are doing a good job at connecting the dots, because now I can see the dots being connected. But yeah. So I think that you are incredibly accurate with this statement. I've learned a lot because there's definitely a power dynamic between and it's completely out of balance. They're not equals. And that is just due to the fact that, first and foremost, the age difference. And there are times, I mean, I don't know, Angry Mimi. Different people behave differently. And I'm inclined to agree that, I think in this situation, right? That it is pretty much what we're all thinking. But I don't want to generalize and say that that is for every situation, because I don't know how other people react, but I will stick to this situation. And for me, it feels a little, like this is being made up. But I think that there's a definite, power struggle and a power dynamic, because he's so much older than she is. And, there are times in your life where the age difference doesn't actually matter, but it's not when you're that young, because there's not a whole lot. A life experience is just that. And then you have the other component. Not only was she younger than he, but also she relied on him for a roof over her head. And, he was essentially taking care of her. And I think then just the way his personality is, just generally speaking, right? So it seemed like he was, sort of control, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. He was, there's, he, definitely held the power in the relationship, and she knew it and he knew it too. And I think the way that, thank you, Mimi. I think that, the way that he was flippant about having children with her or getting married, and the joking about it, right? And his not really wanting to. I'm just tired. It's been a long I'm always messed up for like the first week after the time change. Like, it's not even that big of a deal, right? It's not like what is it when you travel or whatever, when you have that I don't know what that's called, because I'm not fancy. Or I do know what it's called, just can't think of it right now. But anyway, yeah, I think that the way he didn't really wasn't all that interested in meeting her family and stuff like that. It just didn't seem like he jet lag. Thank you, Allie. It just seemed like he didn't take the relation, like he didn't see longevity in the relationship. And I don't want to say he didn't take the relationship seriously, because he certainly took being the boss of her seriously, right? But I feel like I think that he was old enough to realize that there was likely no longevity, that she was going to change a lot between, 18 and 21, and then again between 21 and 25. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like, and I'm also very sorry I didn't want to gloss over this. I wanted to address this too. But if I didn't get my point out, I was going to forget. I'm sorry that happened to you, Angry Mimi. I am. I'm sorry. I don't see how humans can do that to be so cruel to each other. But yeah, I mean, I think he was old enough. That's how is that he was old enough and mature enough to recognize that the relationship wasn't going to go the distance. Marriage was probably not likely. And so I find that interesting. And I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you shared with us tonight and are hanging with us. This is a super chill and cool chat. I say that every night. We have the best chat on these YouTube streets, and I don't care what anybody says. It's just a completely different age group. But then and then I think back to some of the earlier testimony from their mutual friends, people that knew, weren't like friendly with medic Jason Roger, but did know him, right, casually, but they were more her and Alex's mutual friends. And how Ezra talked about Jason being unhappy when she took out some of her piercings and stuff like that. So I feel like there was definitely their relationship was definitely interesting. And I think at this point, we've only scratched the surface. We still have quite a bit more to go. And then don't forget, so tomorrow is going to be part 2 of his direct examination. And then Wednesday, or tomorrow is Wednesday, Thursday is the defense's cross. And then whatever redirect the prosecution wants to do. Oh, and before I forget, let me go over here real quick. Tomorrow, I will be on hold on just a second. I will be on Alex Erickson's live at 6 p.m. Eastern. We are going to talk about the Petito family lawsuit against the Landry family tomorrow night. So let me put her link. Oh, I like to add extra A's to the word channel, apparently. Sorry about that. So I want you guys to, if you can, go on over there and, support your girl, support Alex. Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about that. Good night, Max 2002. Thanks for coming, babe. I always enjoy you. Yeah, I'm really excited to be talking about that lawsuit because I'm fascinated by it. And yeah, so that'll be fun. So that's tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. And there's the link there. Oh no, Kezchick, you're fine, babe. You're fine. I know you got modding duties. It's no big deal. So then oh, you're most welcome, Angry Mimi. We want you to come back. You had some really great one-liners, and it I always enjoy laughing. No, 6 p.m. Eastern, Molson Man. Yeah, 6 p.m. Eastern. If I'll once she puts up the the sets the stream or whatever, however, I'll share it to my community tab so you guys can see. I keep forgetting. Excuse me. I keep forgetting I even have a community tab. I don't even know why. I hardly ever use it. I used it when I first got it because I was excited that I had one. And then I was like, it's like, I'm okay. It's like that cool, it's that toy that you get, you think is going to be so cool, and you get it and you play with it and then you're done. You know what I mean? So yeah, I really enjoy, Alex. I really do. She's a really sweet girl. So, and she does really well with her true crime coverage. I do enjoy it. I enjoy her content. So yeah. But anyway, that's going to be tomorrow night. So it's going to be 2 lives, 2 Jen lives. That's a lot of Jen. Hope y'all are prepared. I'll understand if you need to take a couple of days off of Jen, because you know how I can be extra. Hey Mo, how's it going, babe? Good to see ya. So yeah, all right, that's what we're gonna do. You guys go over there and give Alex a sub, and come and check your girl out at 6 p.m. Eastern on Alex Erickson's channel, and then meet me back here at the Ward at 9 Eastern, and we're going to go for part 2 of Medic Jason Roger, screenshotter timeline maker. And we'll hear his testimony tomorrow. All right, you guys. Thanks for being here, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Okay, bye.